Welcome to Divisive Issues, a spoiler-filled, foul-mouthed comic book podcast where we talk about controversial and noteworthy comic books. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
I picked the book this time.
Oh,
It's gonna be good.
Well, technically, it was a listener suggestion from John and David, and Tracy supported the decision.
So blame them, not Ryan.
But I fully
I'm blaming
embraced
Ryan.
it.
He's the one that told us to do
I
this.
fully embraced it. We are doing the New 52 Midnighter book. The first trade, it's called Out, by Steve Orlando.
So the pitch that Ryan gave to us was, it's like Nemesis but good. So that's
No,
our pitch
I
to you
heard
guys.
it's like if we wanted to see a character that was Nemesis and gay Batman combined.
Well,
Yeah.
this is what Darryl wanted. Darryl said, "This should have to be a gay Batman. There should be more Nemesis." So Darryl, this is your dream book.
I know. It's funny that I was like that I was vying for both of these so much, and then when I'm reading it, I'm like, I don't want this.
You know, I
never
bet
asked for this.
I bet if
Well,
we
you
read
did.
Nemesis again, even as much as you praise it, you would not enjoy reading it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. Like Darryl's.
That's a good question because I still have like a fond memory of
It's because you're a
Nemesis.
masochist. You're always like, I love things that are terrible and hurt me, but I think when you're actually doing it, it's not enjoyable. Like this comic.
So, okay, I think this book's great. I don't give a shit what you guys say.
Okay, great.
Did somebody just die?
Sorry, bug flew my mic.
Sly just threw himself out the window.
One thing that I do think that we haven't done is I would prefer. I realize we usually only give the writer and the penciler credit, but I think we should give all the creators credit. So I'm going to do that right now. So we're doing issues 1 through 7 of the New 52 Midnighter book. It's written by Steve Orlando. The art is by ACO, Stephen Mooney, Alec Morgan, and Hugo Petrus. Colored by Romulo Fajardo Jr. and Alan Pasalacqua and Jeremy Cox. And the letters are Jared Fletcher and Tom Napolitano. So, as we said, it's Nemesis meets crazy gay Batman.
Yeah, that's really the best way you can sum this up.
And now, before we get into this actual book, Sly, do you know anything about Midnighter?
The only thing I know about him was he was part of when they rebooted DC after Flashpoint. I read the Stormwatch series where he was part of, but I don't think that was a representation of him because that series was so bad they actually killed off the entire team halfway and introduced alternate reality versions of the team saying, these are the real Stormwatch members.
Because they were part of Wildstorm, right?
Yeah.
We haven't had a slight imprint corner in a really long time.
Yeah, Wildstorm was an imprint that DC had for their more like 90s books. Not really, but like basically it was a 90s imprint and then DC got the rights to it and then they made it more like weird, like Warren Ellis wrote a lot of the books. I don't know how to describe like more cynical comics. And then when the DC reboot happened, they became part of the main universe.
Yeah, and the thing that Midnighter and Apollo are like Batman, Superman analogs, and they're a couple, right?
Yeah, they're gay Batman, but gay Superman.
Yeah. So, if you aren't familiar with Nemesis, basically,
No, wait, just go listen to our episode of Nemesis right now. If you're not familiar, go.
Yeah, I do think it's one of our best episodes.
It's my inaugural episode.
Yeah.
It was a turning point in my life.
So, because they actually did a preview in a Convergence issue for this book that I think sums up pretty well the character. So I'm just going to recap that real quick. And basically, it starts with Midnighter waking up, and he has this like weird imprint in his brain or something that lets him make... How would you describe it? Like, you know those sci-fi movies where you have like a computer screen that forms like in front of you or in the air around you?
Yeah, like a HUD in your
eyes.
Yeah.
And so he has this, and his agency calls him. He's Asset 23, and he hops out of bed, and there's this like snarky, like Asian guy sleeping in bed, and he's just like, "Is this some nightmare where you get dressed? Where are you going?" And he's like, "I got work to do." And then he goes and fights this giant like Mad Max truck filled with like demon dressed guys, beats the hell out of all of them, and they turned some guy's little daughter into a demon, and he's trying to get the demon to unpossess them, and he says, "Nice trick, but I saw it, right outside normal human visual range. Information sending and receiving. You're no demon. You're aliens beaming into human bodies, body snatcher bullets. Let me be clear. I have the technology in my body to track you across the multiverse and torture you in ways that test the boundaries of your anatomy. I've washed the blood of gods off my knuckles when they misbehave. I will find you and deliver you to a personal hell. I'm Midnighter. Release the girl. And then the alien unpossesses the girl, and the mom runs over and grabs him, and he smirks, and he says, and if the devil finds you there, ask him about my work. And that's the preview.
Do you know how
so
upset
cool.
I am that you read me Midnighter? I was done with Midnighter after this comic, and you were reading more of it to me.
I think I do think I gather from reading this that Midnighter has like a computer brain that he can calculate any kind of probability.
Yes.
He also has regenerative abilities, and he has a way that he can just walk anywhere in the world. Like, he opens up a portal and he walks through it and he goes anywhere.
Yeah, so from what I've gathered, they explain a lot more of this in another DC book called Grayson, where Dick Grayson is like a super spy. And
Dick Grayson being
Robin. The original Robin who becomes Nightwing, and he's going to show up in this too. So basically, I'll get to... Basically, he's like a James Bond type figure. And
He got outed as a vigilante, so now he became like a secret agent instead.
Yeah, so he went like undercover as a secret agent, and basically he teams up with Midnighter a lot, and he becomes the straight man to Midnighter's like wild card.
To Midnighter's gay man.
Yeah. In both this book and in Grayson, and they actually work pretty well together. But I read this first. So Midnighter's origin is picture like a Wolverine style thing where this like organization picks him up as a baby. Like erases his whole past and like experiments on him and gives him like these like basically superpowers where he has like...
I find this principle as interesting, by the way. They have this thing called a God Garden, and it's like this satellite up in space where they have all these hidden like technologies.
Yeah, so they experiment on him, and it's like if Wolverine stayed working with Weapon X like the whole time, because he was created by the God Garden, and they really like fuck him up, but they give him the ability to like create these like teleportation doors that go anywhere he wants, and he has a supercomputer brain, and he has like just regenerative abilities, and he still works for them. They're his bosses.
The supercomputer brain, really, it's like we're underselling it, because it's like whenever you're like, how does Batman plan everything in every fight, it's like he in these fights is like, I've already seen 1,000 ways this fight can go, so I'm gonna just do what I know will result in me winning. Yeah. So he kind of he like instant cheats every fight.
Yeah, Midnighter. One of the biggest problems with the book is there's like no explanation for anything. It's just, of course I'm gonna win. It's like the playground argument of like, well, I have a supercomputer in my brain, so I predict what you're gonna do, so I just beat you.
He's like, I've done this fight 1,000,000 times, and I know that this is the way I win. Like he repeatedly says that throughout the comic.
Well, one thing that I really like about it is the majority of the fill-in artists I really don't like, but the issues that ACO pencils, I really, really like the art, because what he does in a lot of these fights is he will have like a big full-page spread, but there'll be like a plethora of tiny, tiny panels that are all the possibilities of the fight. So it'll be like 15 tiny panels that are all different strikes, and then he'll do one of them in the main plotting, and like I just think that's a really cool way to visually represent this. I thought most of it,
at least from what I saw, weren't the possibilities. It's like all the little things that Midnighter notices, like people's eyes, like where they're looking, their shoes, their hands.
I find that art style is really cool.
For some of them, I found it pretty inconsistent.
Well, that's the thing is the ACO issues, because they have 4 different artists. And I think that the ACO issues are great, and the other ones are like very DC house style, like mediocre.
Yeah, and also I will say for me, I wish I wrote down which fights, but there were some fights I couldn't even tell what the fuck was going on. Like, it was very cluttered. I know there's some of them that are really cool, because they'll show, like, in one panel, they'll show time progression. Like, as his moving through, you see a strike here, strike there, and they circle in on this guy's jaw getting broken and that guy's arm getting snapped. And it's like supposed to be him like moving through the crowd, just like kicking everyone's ass. And those are cool, but some fights are so chaotic that you just see people up like smashed against things here, there, and then he's like says something snarky because he killed.
I kind of
like,
even like that aspect of it because the chaos shows how fast things are going and how crazy things. I just like the art in this book. I think even like the weaker artists, I think the style of it, showing these fragmentations of time, I think is really cool.
I think ACO is a great artist, but I agree with Phil. I do not like how chaotic it gets. As it gets like really crazy to follow, and then like you don't feel like it's a tense, cool fight. You're just like, here's a bunch of images of people getting like their.
I don't think that's the thing. I don't think you guys get it. There's not supposed to be tense fights. Like this is just Midnight is just murdering people.
Well,
like,
he cracks jokes the whole time.
Like these are not serious fights. These are just
one of my favorite fights is he's fighting a bunch of guys. It's a supervillain. We'll get to it in a sec, where he could make a lot of clones, and he's talking on the phone, and they're like, "Could you at least like give me the respect to actually fight me? Like you're on the phone right now." And he's like, "I don't give a shit. I'm Midnighter."
Yeah, like
yeah, but that's boring.
I disagree. I think it's like I feel like the appeal of something like John Wick or was it Hardcore Harry, that movie?
Yeah, which has good action you can follow. So you can be like, whoa, look at what this guy's doing.
It's just this guy exploding people's faces. I think that's just the appeal of it.
I thought it was fun. I'm on Sly's side.
But
that's okay. You're allowed. You're allowed.
You're not allowed. We have to all agree. But
thanks for your permission, Brian.
Okay, so let's get to issue 1.
Okay.
So it starts in the God Garden, and the boss of the God Garden is this old lady called the Gardener. And someone breaks into the God Garden, beats the shit out of her, steals everything, and throws her out of an airlock. And basically this is where we get the exposition that, like, this is all this amazing technology. And I do agree that they don't do a good job at explaining anything about Midnighter.
Almost half of this issue, I was sitting there just wondering what the hell was happening.
I enjoyed the second trade more on my first read through, and then on the reread for my first trade, I liked it a lot more. But I think that is definitely a flaw. So Midnighter, his character dump is I kind of really like the way they do this. Is they show his, I guess his grinder profile, and the whole thing is just like, you know, like he headbutted an alien once. He's awesome. And
yeah, look, literally, he puts that in his profile, likes violence, inventive violence, and people swipe left. What did he swipe to accept? Right?
I don't know.
Whatever. They swipe yes that they want to date this guy. They're like, oh yeah, violence and killing aliens.
Hey, don't fucking kink-shame.
He also says whatever you're thinking, the answer is likely yes. So,
but with
that's
punching,
probably a pro.
I guess if you're really into
crazy guys that do anything.
Yeah.
So he's on a date with this guy Jason, and he's bragging that he's a superhero, and Jason's like, I thought the M stood for like Mitch or something, and he's like, nope, stands for Midnighter. I'm awesome. And then a bunch of terrorists break in, and they
they have rage guns, and as they get mad, they shoot madness out of the gun, and it kills people.
I find that awesome.
I thought it was the gun affects you, and when you get mad, it kills you.
You die. You get so mad, you die. I think that's
I think that's so funny.
It's Sly's weapon.
This is like, but like the whole, I think like the tone.
Sly's
of this,
immune to this.
Like I think you have to be in for the tone of this, and this tone is very. There's like a nice, interesting, funny blend of. When it's anything related to superheroes, it's all over the top, all ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then you have these weird, like, somber character moments, and I think that blend is really amusing for me.
I also really like the way they handle his relationships. But
me too.
We'll get to that as we go through it. So he shows up, and so Midnighter now gets in costume, and he's like, I won the moment you spoke out of your sphincter of a mouth, and beats the shit out of all the terrorists. And this is when
Ryan used that line to like hype this book for us, and I will say this book is significantly less edgelord than I thought it would be. Like there's a lot of guts and stuff like that, but like I was expecting like Garth Ennis the boy shit where the dogs get raped and stuff like that. But I think
I forgot about that.
This is more like the tone I like where. Like it's more like seeing a guy be like, "I'm fuck you, I'm gonna kick your ass," but it's not like over excessively like, "Hey, here's a truck full of babies getting murdered."
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
like he's only over the top when he's Midnighter. In his normal life, like he's kind of down to earth. Like it feels a lot more like a normal comic.
And that's what I liked about it.
On a date.
Yeah, that's the tone I was talking about. Like where you have these weird somber character moments, but then when it's Midnighter, it's super over the top. The villains are over the top. The fight scenes are over the top. There's nothing subtle when it gets to the action scenes.
Yeah, so during this action scene, he saves this white-haired guy that was being held hostage, and they like exchange phone numbers or something?
But the next issue they say like, "Oh, thanks for saving my life. Now I'm dating you."
Yeah,
his name is Matt.
Yeah. So and then it cuts to Midnighter at a pool hall, like hanging out with some biker looking guy named Tony, and he's talking about his ex Apollo, who's a Superman analog.
But they don't ever tell you who Apollo is.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
That is a
So
flaw.
I was like, I guess he's another superhero, just by the name. And then when later on he shows up looking like the sun, I was like, I guess that's Apollo because he's, Apollo brings
Yeah.
the sun around.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things about like reading these comics. When at least for like me and Phil jumping in completely. Well, Sly was completely new too, and Ryan, I guess.
Yeah.
But we don't know like who's a recurrent character or who is
Yeah.
new, what we're supposed to know beforehand.
And especially, this is the new 52 Midnighter book. This is supposed to be your first exposure to
I was gonna say that is a significant flaw, and this could be avoidable because like this is actually the premise of this issue is actually I think a perfect setup for this lore because the Guard Garden the Guard Garden ship being stolen is a good way to introduce what the Guard Garden is,
Yeah.
what all this stuff is, but they neglectfully ignore
Yeah.
introducing you to this stuff properly.
Yeah, I agree. So the backstory is basically Midnighter apparently, this is what they reveal with his breakup scene with Apollo, is Midnighter told him he had like an identity and a secret identity and his name was Lucas, and that was just made up so he could seem like a normal person, and really he's just Midnighter. He doesn't know anything about his history, like kind of like that Wolverine trope. And he is so dark and edgy that he's like, Apollo deserves better than me. I can't be with you. You deserve
Yeah.
someone who's a whole person and not just like crazy gay Batman.
I'm too much of an edgelord. You
Pretty
have to
much,
leave
yeah.
me.
But I actually think this breakup scene is really well handled.
It's told throughout the 7 issues, like this whole process of it. But I like I said, these are more somber moments where he's just like, I have to win every fight, and I don't want to fight with you, Apollo. And they have just like nice moments being scattered throughout them, showing how eventually they fall apart. And eventually, Midnighter breaks it off because he's like, I can't date like this.
When I was reading this is where I was like splitting on the book because I wanted more of those scenes, but
Yeah.
without the stupid. Like, it's much as you guys make fun of me for Nemesis. Nemesis is dumb all the way through. It
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
tries to be serious. It never tries to like speak to you about the problems of being a gay man or what it's like to like lose someone and trying to replace them with other people and all that stuff, or like being obsessed. It's just like, here's a bomb in a womb. And
But-
I knew you were gonna.
But that's
plant
what I
that
find
bomb in that
interesting
womb.
about it, because we've had so many of these like super edgelordy, like, look at how dark this is, look at how dark this is. But this, I feel like, does the mix well.
That's why I like The Boys better than Nemesis, because The Boys is less pure bad. Like, Darryl recommends it because it's so bad. But, like, The Boys, the moments where it highlights, like, this guy's a good writer, Garth Ennis, when it shows the main character grieving and stuff like that.
And all that
like,
bloody
that's-
semen and stuff, good
Yeah,
stuff.
all that stuff. But,
Oh
like,
my god.
But there's moments where you can tell Garth Ennis is a good writer. He's not just like Mark Millar, where he can't even understand how human beings fucking work.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
That's the thing. It just makes me more disappointed in them. It's like, just write and like more of a normal story. You don't need to code it. I guess like if you're trying to market it to edgelords and stuff, maybe you
Yeah.
do need to code it.
Like again, this is capitalism's fault. Like Phil loves capitalism so much, but capitalism creates the edge
So I
market.
save that for oops.
So like politics.
This is another scene that I really like, where Midnighter is now showing Jason around the world with his dimensional doors, and he keeps taking him to places that Apollo took him to, and he's like, this is the only culture I know. Like, I'm not a person. Everything I know that's humanizing is from my ex-boyfriend. And Jason's like, okay, let's make these our moments instead. Like, stop telling me about him. Let's kind of like, what does he say? Like, Bogart these moments or something, where he's like, now they're us. We're kidnapping these memories from your ex and making them, like, new. And I'm like, that's a cool thing I can really relate to, where, like, when you show somebody in your relationship, like, something that an ex introduced you to, it's always weird when you're like, they're like, oh, how do you know this? And you're like, oh, I don't, I just found it.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. And then it gets weird in Superhero, where he injects him with this tracking device. And basically, it's part of the God Garden's, like, magic tech, where he's like, I can't track you. It's just because I'm a superhero with a lot of enemies, you can just, like, press your neck or something, and it will call me. And he's like, that's coming on really, really strongly. And he's like, I don't care, I'm Midnighter. And then the gardener apparently survived the airlock, calls him and says, I actually lied when I said I destroyed your whole life. A guy broke in and stole your whole origin story. What are you going to do about it? And that's the end of the setup issue.
I wish that it really, like, I know you guys are saying it's nice that it can be over the top action and then switch to somber moments, but like it seems like such a different story and different character so much. Like how does his supercomputer brain not affect his personal relationships at all? Like,
well, it
how
does,
is
because he keeps like
no how could you, if you can see every scenario play out 1,000 ways, like how does it not fuck you up when you're trying to talk
that's
to
actually
a
part of
lover?
the theme of the story is that he starts turning that part off for his relationships, and that's what causes him to get fucked up. And he says, like, I opened myself up for relationships and tried to turn off that aspect of myself, and it fucked me over.
Okay, all right, that's actually true.
Yeah, and also we do see a lot of him as like trying to. The whole point is he is trying to reconcile this, where he left Apollo because he was like, I'm just a super edgelord. I don't know how to be a human being, and this is him trying and failing a lot. Where he's just like, oh, I'm putting GPS trackers in you now, and the guy's like, that I'm not ready for that.
I mean, to Phil's point, they don't go into it too much. Like, it's more just implied. It's like,
I was
oh,
about to
I
say-
turn off, but we don't know, like, to what degree it
Yeah.
turns off. Like, there's a more interesting, like, mechanical aspect of this, of him being a person. Like, how do you act as a person when you can see the future, like, all possible futures?
I feel
But
like
yeah,
that
it
psychologically
wants-
has to be different than just like.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, this book is volume 1 of 3. Just one thing to keep in mind, that they do address this. These do get more fleshed out as the series goes on, and he comes to more terms about his relationships. But just yeah.
Is Steve Orlando still the writer?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't trust you.
Okay.
Because while I was reading this, one of my biggest problems with his writing is he's 100% seems like someone that just sat down in like middle school and ignored the lesson the teacher was giving and just wrote down quips, because everyone in this book is quippy and
I
they
think
all
that's
like
fair.
talk the same. They all talk in his whatever his written language is, where it's just like everything's sentence fragments of just like short phrase period, and like it really bothers me when everyone talks like the same way. It's like that was my problem with Mark Millar when he has like a little 5-year-old girl saying, "Go suck a bag of shit cocks." Come on.
I think that's fair.
All right, so moving
Yeah.
to part 2, issue 2. There's a event where a woman's husband dies from a rare food allergy. Someone gives her a gift from the God Garden.
I just before this, all it says is like it has the panel of like her and her husband together. It says Oakland, and then after it's her crying, it says after death in the family. And I don't know what happened in a death of the family, so I'm just like,
I kind of
thought
like
that was related
I
to
like the
Batman.
transition. I know you're gonna say it's not clear, or whatever. I think it's cool to have one panel. Her husband's just a casual, fucking mundane scene of her husband drinking milk out of the car or something like that while she's at the fridge or something like that. Next panel is her in her black garb without her husband in the panel, mourning, and just says after death in the family. I picked it up right
Oh,
away.
no, it's
Yeah, they tell
not
you also.
referencing the Batman story. Death
Oh,
of the
okay.
Family. It's
Sorry,
saying like
I'm in comic mode where I assume it's related to
No,
other
no.
things.
I think they it's just supposed to be someone dies and then they
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
right after, like, and it's not just a food allergy. It's a food allergy that the company knew about but didn't think it was cost effective to recall.
yeah, they
Yeah,
thought
that
it was
makes more sense.
Yeah.
And so she gets this.
Darryl knows too much about comics now. We're through the looking glass.
Everything has to be a reference to something else. Like, this is actually Konnichiwa Kosko, the human bullet who can fly 1 million miles a second, something like that. Yeah, so this woman, she gets this gift from the God Garden, and now
This is my favorite gift from the God
me too.
Garden.
I think it's fucking bad.
It's so fucking cool.
It's lets you perform. It's like this thing that wraps. It looks like Cthulhu, like creature wrapping around your neck, and makes you perform the 6 killing sounds, and you just make sounds and kills people.
And this action scene is actually my favorite in the stories we read.
Mine too.
It's like it's her going from room to room, and like as people try and stop her, you just see like a Chinese character on a part of their body, and they die. And she's just going through like using these killing sounds, like murdering everyone.
Yeah, everyone.
And this actually isn't ACO doing the pencils on this one, so I guess what I said.
Yeah, I was saying this one, like there's 1 or 2 artists that I think are weaker, but I think it's not as disparate. Where it's not ACO, it's not good at all. I think.
Okay.
But so she kills everyone. Like she kills the janitor, she kills random people.
She's going to the company that killed her husband.
Yeah. Yeah, and the people in the building who says, I didn't work here, she kills him anyway. And she beats Midnight shows up and she beats him with the killing noises, but then he punches in his ears until they bleed so he can't hear anymore. Which I think is cool. That's the kind of like over the top, like I'm badass, I'm gonna fucking cut off your ears just so you can't hurt me with your fucking sound powers anymore. I like that. And so then he beats the shit out of her as she's about to kill the board members of the company. And they're like, "Oh, thank you, Midnighter," and he's like, "Fuck you," and he breaks all their arms and tells them, like, "You will publicly apologize for that's all people caused by your product, and you will seek a minimum sentence for this woman, and you will fucking pay for everyone's health care for everyone who got fucking injured."
I like that he still sends her to jail.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, but also fuck you guys.
Yeah, like, she murder people, but you know what? Fuck you, by guys on your way. Like, you're going
because he shows up and says, you can't be killing innocents, but these people do deserve to get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
So you have to go to jail for what you did, but you guys need to pay the price for what you did.
You have to have your arm broken a little bit.
Yeah.
And one thing to know about this whole story is it jumps back and forth in the time a few times, and like a lot of this story is half told in the future. Midnighter's telling it to Matt, the gay guy he rescued before. And they get hassled. They're in Moscow, and they get hassled by a bunch of gay bashers because it's Moscow. And so, and then we jump ahead. I say this because they jump ahead again, and they reveal that he's talking to women in their cell, as he's about to get into a fight with a group of guys. That's one guy called Multiplex who can
He's
multiply
talking to the
himself.
girl that could make the killing sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he talks to her for the rest of the series. So for what we read,
Yeah, but
just like
he's
she's in jail, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm kicking some guy's ass. How's it going in jail?"
But like Ryan said, he's talking to people on the phone while he's kicking people's asses. So he's talking to the phone while he's about to fight Multiplex. And then we jump back in time and see where this fight Multiplex started for issue 3.
Yeah, so the thing that I really like about this is we see at the end of issue 2, the setup is we just see his conversation with her, and then issue 3 starts with the same conversation, but it's now we see what Multiplex is saying, and he's like, "Pay attention to me," and he's like, "Oh, fuck you," and then he says, "Oh, I guess I do know when my birthday is," because he gets to fight infinite clones.
He's such an edgelord sometimes. Like when he walks in, he's surrounded by 1,000 guys, and he's like, "I'm having a good day now."
Yeah. So basically, in issue 3, they flash back that he met a woman about her missing daughter, and he's gonna go find the daughter. He beats up a bunch of kidnappers and traffickers, and he finds an old man that's trying to transfer his life, sap the youngster's life force into him.
Yeah, there's like a specific life thing that they've learned how to separate from the body.
Yeah,
and
that's from the God Garden.
Yeah.
So he tortures the guy basically and says who gave you the de-aging device, and then he kills him. Does the guy tell him?
He calls him it's a guy called Noy Akayevich.
He gives him a Russian name, and they mention him as the Moscow mongrel.
Yeah.
And then we see Matt and Midnighter start. Their relationship is getting closer now.
Yeah, they have tender moments on their rooftop and stuff like that, and talk about his inability to connect with people and shit like that.
Yeah, and now at this point, he Midnighter breaks into a spy mission and kidnaps Dick Grayson, who we mentioned earlier is now a super secret agent, and he basically kidnaps him and he says, "You have to help me with this Moscow mission now."
And here's another problem with this book I have is they didn't explain a lot of stuff properly, and I don't feel like they explain that this is Dick Grayson, the original Robin, at all. They just hint at it. Why don't you just say if you're trying, because they use it as a hype of the book, saying, "Well, now Midnight is with Grayson," but they never say who the fuck Grayson is to in the readers.
The thing that I think the thing with Steve Orlando is I've actually really come around to him after I found him pretty mediocre, but you could tell that he's a new comic book writer, because I think he writes a good story and I think he writes good characters, but he does not know how to juggle continuity.
Yeah.
And that's something that
dialogue,
a lot of people
when Midnighter's about to kill that big businessman, all the businessman says to him is, "I can't die in a monument to public transit because they're underground." And then he says, "Please, just leave my face for the internet, my grandchildren."
I think that's funny.
Me too.
Oh, and when he does that, he shoots him in the face, so it's all fucked up. And he's like, "What does he say? Your grandchildren know you're a prick anyway."
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's just
I can
dumb.
see finding it too much, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's all about your perspective, because you could say it's too much, but it's obviously going for too much. And you can
but if it stayed too much, then I'd be like, I'd excuse this because you're an idiot, and this is just a book for idiots.
But my opinion is, your opinion is you have to be stupid all the way. My opinion is you could have stupid fun and tell good character moments.
I'm totally on Sly's side on this.
I can't. Not in the same book. You can do it in two different books.
No,
but this is just too much, both one way or the other.
I think you can do both, but I don't feel like the over the top stuff is fun enough. like over the top Mad Max is fun. Like Mad Max Fury Road, that's fun. These scenes were not that fun to me in that way. Like Mad Max Fury Road is a good example of having the crazy over the top stuff and then actual some character development in between.
Well, Mad Max is different because it's all about how the world is crazy, and then there's like these people trying to cope in a crazy world. Where this is like the crazy superhero stuff, and then it goes to a regular life, and how Nemesis, how Midnighter tries to fit into that regular life. So I think that
I find it really interesting.
But I think it's a matter of opinion at the end of the day. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your opinion's wrong.
Okay, so what happens next?
All right, so issue 4 opens with these Russian partygoers that go to this place. Like one of them's like, "What did I tell you? We are connected here. Just go in here." And they. Like, the other guy's like, "This place is a shithole." And then they walk up to this old woman and he says, "What is stupid word? Will you knock?" And then a door opens and this guy says, "Welcome, travelers, to the inn of Guerre Grando." And apparently in this place, people go in there and they just stab vampires with stakes.
It's kind of like Hostel with vampires, where a bunch of rich people want to see how it's like to kill something and feel big about themselves. So they tie up somebody helplessly, and in this case, they turn him into a vampire and tie him up and starve him, and then they kill him. Like they let rich bros kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the vampires are like, "Please, I've been here for weeks." And then they just like stab him. They're like, "Awesome, this is what heroes do."
How do you not love this? This is awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh my god. This
this
is where I was like, this is such a dumb comic book thing. It's like, let's go kill vampires because we're
like
cool
my bourgeois
guys.
friends. I don't like this criticism of them. They're the least should be respected, right, Phil?
Why do you? Since when did I become this fucking businessman?
Because you're always like, "Oh, you defend capitalism."
Okay, I defend capitalism because you're always like,
Guys, this is the wrong show.
It's the worst economic system ever, but I'm gonna go read comics and use my mic, which all are a product of a capitalist society. It's like
I know, but I know you keep doing it, so then I started doing the anti. You love capitalism so much,
Yes.
so now I just do it as a running joke that you're
Excuse me,
fucking
your
capitalist.
microphone, Phil. I believe that it was bought to you. It was bought for you by a liberal elite named Ryan.
that's definitely true. But I'm saying that Sly's
definitely
complaining. Sly's complaining, but all the stuff we use on a daily basis is a product of a capitalist system.
Yeah, but then take that to another extent. People bitch about communism, but a lot of our shit was.
Guys, save this for oops.
Can we get back to murdering vampires in Guerre
Sly, you better not
Grando?
edit this out, you fucker.
I don't think it's cool that my bourgeois friends are stabbing vampires. They should donate their money to charity like good
Rockefellers.
Good Russians? All right, so it's Midnighter and Grayson together. Midnighter's being all sarcastic to him, and they go in to see these Russian guys because they're trying to find Kekevich, I think his name is.
Yeah, I think that was it.
And they're sitting in a spa, and Midnighter and Grayson walk in. They're all super buff and hot. And then Midnighter just beats them all up.
Yep.
And one thing I realized when I was reading this, like, with Grayson here, I'm like, so the Midnighter universe is connected to, like, the DC universe. And it was crazy for me because it's like, where has this guy been? I specifically thought of Cry for Justice. I'm like, he can teleport anywhere. Why didn't he teleport into the place where Prometheus was fighting the Justice
Cry for
League
Justice
and beating
before the
them all?
DC reboot.
When
This is
they
after the DC
rebooted
reboot.
it, they folded in these characters.
Yeah.
They were not around. Like, you remember
Oh.
on the Question episode when we talked about how it was a separate company until Christ on Infinite Earths folded everyone in?
Yeah, but then it's like a weird, that's like a weird canonical thing of like, when did Midnighter appear or anything?
Yeah, the DC reboot was an editorial mess and they still don't understand anything.
That's
Yeah,
why
like-
I always argue with Ryan about this. Like, Ryan agrees for the most part, but he says, like, I like this continuity, I should keep this. My opinion is you should, even though there's good stories that are part of the old continuity, fucking scrap it all, start over full fresh.
Yeah,
Cause
either keep it or scrap it all.
Yeah.
Sly has totally convinced me of this.
Do you know what I just this past week was watching Wonder Woman? I couldn't stop thinking of Flashpoint and how like she genocided whatever. And that.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
just like, I just couldn't.
Aquamans.
That made me think of all the DC characters in such a shittier way.
Yeah, and it's all because the fucking Flash's mom died, and that made Wonder Woman turn into a fucking monster.
Not just that, it's because Diana and Aquaman got a divorce and he had to kill everyone in the world over it.
Oh fuck, fuck DC.
Anyway, Dick and Midnighter beat all these guys up and they find out where this place is. And there you learn that, like, the leader of the vampire place finds homeless people on the street that need help and he turns them into vampires.
because he is a vampire.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, one thing I want to point out about the Grayson Midnighter dynamic. This is done, I think, better in Grayson, but they have this really interesting dynamic where Dick Grayson doesn't want him to kill anybody, and Midnighter wants to kill everybody. And also, Grayson is very, like, reserved and trying, like, to be, like, the super respectable, like in control spy. And Midnighter is not only killing everybody, but also constantly hitting on him.
Yeah, I think that another weak part of this book is I don't feel like justify Grayson's appearance here at all. It just feels like a mandatory tie-in.
Well, I think the reason why it's there is because Midnighter was introduced in Grayson, and this book is kind of like a spin-off of Grayson.
And that's
I totally agree with you that it's shoehorned and hurts the book.
And that is a flaw of this book because a lot of times that's a part of crossovers. A lot of times, if you see this with Chris Claremont's X-Men, when he's forced to cross over with a much shittier book, you read one half and it's super shitty, and the other half, and this is not super shitty, but it's one half is doing the team up better than the other half is doing. And
I do think, and even though it's not a direct crossover, they're obviously very related, and I think the Grayson issues are just better.
Yeah.
I think it's going back to like the narrative of this story. It's weird for Dick to be like to have a no killing vow, but he willingly works with someone who kind of like flamboyantly kills whoever he
that
wants.
Actually
That's his
kind
thing.
of is part of Dick Grayson's character, though, is he follows Batman's code to an extent, but like when Dick Grayson was Batman and Batman's son was Robin, Robin killed people all the time, and Dick Grayson was like, "Hey, try not to," but like. Dick
it makes more sense if it like Dick's the one that's being like, I'm kind of like conflicted about this or in the middle. Like I could not see Batman being like okay with being with Midnighter.
Yeah, Dick is more less of a strict code follower than Batman.
Yeah, he says you shouldn't do it. He actually in the early 2000s he let a supervillain get killed because he was like, I don't know how to get out of this problem, so I just won't save you. And like he's always been more like, I support Batman's code, but like.
Which is funny because he's Robin. He used to be Robin, the fucking guy in green tights, and now he's a more morally conflicted guy.
Yeah, but that is part of. I
Yeah,
think that's part of Dick Grayson is he's a more realistic and healthy version of Batman's hardline rules.
All right, so back to the story. Midnighter and Dick show up at this place, and then they go and talk to the old lady. And this is just like this gets me so riled up. Is that Midnighter walks over to her. Because she hasn't said anything, and he says, I won't insult your intelligence. Your husband died, 20 years ago? You raised a family on your own, worked full-time, you survived. This is your home. Someone made it into something bad. You refuse to leave. We're here to clean out the rats. Like, that he looks at this woman, and he knows her whole backstory, and she throws up her hands like, yeah, I guess you're right. My hands are tied. Here you go.
No, I think she was like, because he says, like, you hate these people, so why fight me to help protect them? And she throws up her hands because she's doing it because she has no choice. These people invade her house.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that Midnighter, he just like, yeah, I know your life story. Like, I can look at you and I know you had a husband.
But that's why I actually like that, because maybe you would hate the fucking Sherlock TV show because that's what they do in that too. But I love that kind of character who looks at you and like, I see because of your cuff and this and that. You haven't been married.
But he didn't say any of that.
I didn't say any of that, but like I like that. It's believable that because there's characters like this already. And it's believable that with a computer brain, you could do that easily.
Yeah, so they go in here and they beat up like a bunch of these guards in iron helmets, and then the main vampire comes in and starts fighting. And then Midnight,
he's like supposed to be like super powerful the way he's like, you don't know what I am and blah blah blah, but then he just gets
and Midnighter realizes, oh, you're a mediocre actor. I can see your cellular enhancements. You're not a real vampire. I've met vampires and you're not half as cool. It's just this weird, like, why is this going far enough where they're explaining that these actually aren't vampires, they're like homunculi vampires?
Because it shows the God Garden tech, I think.
Yeah, God Garden tech.
Yeah, every mission that they go to is all God Garden tech.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like a weird, like, where they're like, you're not actually vampires, you're Martian vampires. Anyway, Midnighter uses that palm of his hand and just cuts this guy's head in half.
Which I think is cool.
Yeah, he's like, what? I was out of stakes when Robin confronts him.
That reminds me of, like, fucking something out of... What's that show where he punches somebody and they're like, you're already dead? Where,
Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, and he would do stuff like that where he would claw somebody and his claws would, like, tear to his skin like it's a fucking laser.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
And then him and Dick have a drink, and then it was shown that there's an... yeah, that's a Kaikovich. That he knows what Midnighter's doing, and he's like, this is what we should be making instead of vampires.
He's like, all according to Kaiku, I'm trying to lure him here. And also, what's interesting too, in a very Nemesis fashion, these vampires that they saved, the starved ones, their genes are rigged to explode them whenever you try to analyze them.
Yeah.
So Dick Grayson's like, I can reverse engineer them and save them. And then once you go to analyze their DNA, they just combust.
Yeah, I could buy that though because it is God Garden. It's supposed to be like this overpowered, like basically like the dragon's gold, like magical.
It's not just some guy that knows everything. Like the premise of this is he's from a super.
So you can buy it because it's essentially science magic.
Yeah.
No, but it's like supposed to be like this technology is so advanced, like it's basically magic. And
Right. The Nemesis problem is that a single human being is able to outplan everyone, where this is actually like magic tech.
But I think that's funnier.
It's funnier, but it's not.
Then
as
a man
cool.
can plan 10 years in advance how to fight someone.
Oh, I'll admit, Nemesis is fucking funny.
Yeah, like the problem is Nemesis isn't that it's fucking hilarious. The problem is that it's shitty too.
All right. So we go to this next issue, issue 5. We have some scenes throughout this issue, by the way, of him and Matt doing normal relationship things, going on jogs, etc. Then we cut to him in Russia again, trying to find Akakovich, and Akakovich is like, I'm gonna lure him here by obviously leaving a. I'm not gonna allow his teleportation door to work in my complex. So by the fact that he can't teleport in here, he's gonna know I'm here, type thing. So he's like going into a trap. This is fun, and
he's bringing Dick with him, and then he decides for funsies to handcuff Dick to him.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
No, it's stupid.
It's so.
It is stupid, but this is the only way. I feel like this is the best. This is the best. The closest they've come to justifying Grayson's appearance here, where he's just not just amusing himself with all these restrictions Grayson's putting on himself, and this is like the final restriction. It is stupid, but like this is the closest they come to justifying why Grayson's here.
Watching this, it didn't make any sense why he needed him here in the first place. Like, why? What does Dick give him that like he needs to beat these guys? Because he can beat anyone.
It's funny.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's literally it. He thinks it's funny to mess with him.
So they go into
he
this.
handcuffs him, and it reminded me of in Sonic Adventure 2 when Eggman gives Rouge the Bat. I mean Rouge the government spy. Like 8
Spoilers.
minutes. Like, I only need 5 minutes, and then it's like you the player only have 5 minutes. So you're like, this is gonna be tough, and he's like, don't worry, we'll handcuff each other. But then they fight bears. How awesome is that?
Well, this actually was a cool fight scene to me because, as Midnighter says, as they're going through this train, they're fighting all this God Garden tech, and it's, in his words, weaponized folklore. So it's like the God Garden tech was able to create harpies and giant eagles and bears and werewolves and zombies and like basically a vast variety of folktale fantasy monsters.
I kind of wish all like 7 issues were dedicated to like around this premise because that's an interesting idea.
Yeah. I mean the 6 killing sounds thing was cool for that reason too, where it's like this is a fantasy trope and a folk trope, and like it would be cool if they did more of this, because I thought this, even though the fight itself was kind of lame, it shows Midnighter and Dick kicking harpies in the face. And
most of this book is that, because there's the sound stuff, then there's the vampires, then there's the like werewolves and stuff. Like that's half of the book.
But I think Phil and Darryl want this to be fleshed out more.
Oh no, I agree.
But I actually like the fact that it's so casual for just dropping this God Guard and stuff. Just these premises, like, oh, here's a fucking cool premise, because like it's just showing all these different things that God Guard can do. It's like just using this as an excuse to showcase casually these crazy fucking cool inventions.
Yeah.
So they kill all these really cool folklore characters. Midnighter brought a sword with him that he uses. He's like, I knew I was going to need this. Stabs the thing. It's like, it can only be killed with the spear. I'm going to be the spear. And throws himself through it or whatever. And then they, again, like Darryl was saying, with everyone being so sarcastic and an asshole, as they explode their way in and throw knives at everyone, Akakovich is on the phone. He's like, excuse me, I'm on the phone. Like, as if he's
he
like,
says one moment as he's holding up his finger to them.
Like he's so fucking cool. Another fucking edgelord over here. And then, and he's like, actually, I have telekinesis. It's a God Guarding gift. And he, fuck this comic. He throws them through the ceiling. And Midnighter's like, I knew he was gonna throw us through this, and I planned this. So the thing he threw us through was his teleport jammer. So then Akakovich is like, aha, I won. And Midnighter teleports right behind him and basically kicks him in the face, and then basically kicks the shit out of him. And
Oh,
he's like, yeah.
not just that. This is such like a Midnighter planned out everything. He throws a glass shard at him, and Dick comes down the hole that he came through, and he throws one of his batons at him and says to him, "No killing." And it shatters the glass shard so that it splinters and it lands in his back and paralyzes him, just as Midnighter intended.
Yeah, according to Kikaiku.
But then this is the best part, because while the guy is laying on the floor, he's just like, "Huh, your princess is in another castle."
Also, it does lead to a good character moment where Midnighter says just according to Kikaiku, but he says I know, I know your fucking code. I'm gonna follow it. I wouldn't have brought you if I didn't. And Dick Grayson is like, "You're fucking crazy, but I can respect you a little bit more." So they come at the end, respect each other a little bit more, even though it's bullshit Kikaiku stuff.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm just another middleman. I didn't steal the God Garden tech. It's someone else." And then the issue ends with Midnighter and Matt at home for Thanksgiving dinner, and it's supposed to be another character moment here where Midnighter's like, "I've never had Thanksgiving before. This is really nice." And then it ends with a crosshair on their heads and Multiplex from a helicopter with this big gun, and
yeah,
it ends there.
So
And
is Multiplex DC's Multiple Man?
Yeah, I guess so. I've never thought before.
Where he's never actually dead because he cloned himself earlier before the fight.
I think he's like a ZZZ lister.
But this is actually my favorite scene in the whole action scene in the whole comic. So Midnighter dodges all the bullets from Multiplex as he shoots, and then he basically jumps out the window. He throws something at Multiplex and fucking kills the sniper one. The sniper gets forced out of the helicopter, and he has a line to prevent him, help him when he's falling out of the helicopter. So basically, Nemesis, Midnighter, perfectly times this knife throwing at Multiplex. So he throws it. Multiplex falls out of the helicopter. He arced his jumps perfectly land on the falling Multiplex. And then he uses the Multiplex's line to climb up the helicopter to kill the rest of them. I think that's cool.
It's like those Mario Maker levels where you have to bounce the shell off someone, bounce off the shell, and he does that perfectly.
To go to one of Darryl's points though about all the quips is he does say when they're getting fired down, he's like, "Oh, this seems like an unconventional Thanksgiving," and Matt while he's getting fired upon by snipers says, "Usually it's food comas, not actual."
Yeah, we're like this casual non-superhero guy to just feel like, oh, you know.
That is true. That is a flaw. But so Multiplex brags about how you keep killing us, but you'll never kill us all. It's Multiplex's power. And Midnighter says, "I know. That's why you're my favorite."
Yep. Nothing like a good vendetta, he says as he lands the helicopter Multiplex was in.
I love that scene. I love that scene.
Is Multiple Man and maybe by extension Multiplex, are all the clones like separate sentient entities? Like, is he killing all these people that are just identical?
I guarantee Multiplex has never been explored that way, but the Multiple Man has been explored really, really well that way.
Multiple Man explains like when he makes multiple himself, it's a different part of his psyche. So sometimes he multiplies himself, and it turns out like it's the part of him that loves chaos and stuff like that, or the type of him that's more anxious. So he's not willing to do what.
Or even because he's a little he is bisexual, so like sometimes he'll have one that's just like gay.
Yeah.
And people are like, "What?" And he's like, "I guess that's part of my personality that I've really repressed."
Huh.
Multiplex does seem that like the other ones say like for the love of and damn it, so they do seem to show emotion. So they are kind of their own people.
So he's just murdering all these people.
Yep, genocide of one man.
Midnighter has been murdering people this whole time.
Yeah, he does. And actually, we didn't say this earlier, but they do like the Mortal Kombat 10 style, where every time he's hitting someone, it does an X-ray shot of their bones being crushed.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And so, they find out in the news that somebody has beaten up Matt's dad in his fucking.
Well, actually, there is one small scene that I really want to mention.
Yeah.
There is
the gorilla.
Page. Well, yeah. Well, there is a page that the left of it is 3 panels that are like them hiking together, and him and Midnighter like meeting all of Matt's friends, and them like camping together. And on the right of the page is all like missions of him tracking down like the God Garden tech, and like I really like that juxtaposition. I think it's really
So yeah, like I said, Matt's dad got beaten up, and so they go to Matt's hometown.
And he got beaten up because he's dating Midnight.
Yeah,
right. So they're trying to get to Midnighter this way.
Yeah. So the news got out that Matt and Midnight are dating, and So when they go to that town, Midnighter starts like everything is so perfect there. Like he's is unable to predict what happens next, and they have this cool scene where
this also is where he reveals that Midnight reveals his apartment is grown from undifferentiated urban cells, so they're like stem cells for furniture.
Yeah, really. And when it gets blown up, he's like, "We gotta let the cultures like make a new apartment in a few days." Like,
I like the idea.
fuck you.
So much. Of, you guys like have hate this fucking.
It's just like that occurs right before it gets to a scene with like Matt meeting his dad, and later on how the dad explains that when Matt came out to him, he didn't understand, but he was most concerned about how other people would perceive Matt and how they'd treat him. And it's like, that's really like a nice touching little moment where Midnighter's learning about his boyfriend more. And it's right before like, oh, my apartment like grows itself.
I think that's cool. I like that. That reminds me, in Stormwatch, the book that I mentioned that Midnight was part of, they had a guy who had the power to talk to cities, and that's how he. And I think that's so fucking cool. That is such a weird power. I think I love stuff like this. I love urban culture.
It's a real like Warren Ellis, Grant Morrison.
Yeah, like if you guys hate this, you probably hate Warren Ellis. He's considered one of the best comic writers of all time.
So speaking of Grant Morrison, when we meet his dad, his name is Grant.
Oh, it is. Oh yeah, I didn't catch that.
I think that's on purpose.
So, like I said, Midnight can't predict what's going on here, and they have a cool scene where the show Midnight is predictable vision, but it's all static now. Like he can't predict what's going to happen now. And so Midnight beats some bikers looking for info about the dad, and later on, they try to run over him with a school bus in revenge. But when Midnighter kills them, they bleed green, and Midnighter realizes like these are garden creations. Like this is like a weird skin creation bullshit thing.
And then he really thinks like it's one of those scenes in the movies where it's like, as you're doing something, he realizes, oh no, Matt, and he like runs home.
Yeah, he runs home.
He calls them industrial homunculi.
Yeah, and he goes home and you just fucking explode Matt's dad's head.
With his palm of his fist.
It's funny too because it's like you're taking a pretty big gamble there when you kill your boyfriend's dad. Like,
when you know everything.
That's the only reason why I like this, because it reminds me of Fallout, where if you punch somebody in, was it Rad, and they explode, that reminds me of that, so I think it's cool. But he reveals that Matt's dad is a fake Green Man, too. And Midnighter says, like, we're in the middle of this fake Green Man conspiracy thing. Don't worry, I'll protect you. We'll find out the bottom of this. And then as they're racing, Matt stabs him. And as, Midnighter is on the ground bleeding, Matt gets dressed and reveals his secret identity, and he is Prometheus from Cry for Justice.
Oh my God.
This is where I was like, this is almost worth it. This is
when I actually, despite all my bitching, I liked the comic until this reveal, and I was like,
So-
I hate this.
I think
Really?
it's
The
awesome.
thing that I find this so ridiculous.
Gay
First
Batman
off-
versus evil Batman, I think is
Okay,
perfect.
no, it's
No,
a little more loaded than that, Sly, because in this issue, there are scenes of them, like, showering together and, like, super boning down.
Yeah, I
Like,
love that
multiple scenes-
Prometheus
so-
bangs Midnighter just to get, like, the
No,
eventual
and he's
kill.
been doing this for a while. Like his whole plan was to date Midnighter for weeks.
And they've been, like, explicitly on the page fucking each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm gonna date you. No, first I'm gonna set up a situation where you come and save me. Then I'm gonna date you. Then I'm gonna attack you with a series of things that you're gonna be able to overcome, all for no reason, because he doesn't need to do all this. And he's gonna fuck him for the next few weeks, and then he's gonna
We don't know their sexual relationship. I don't want to be presumptuous.
Okay,
But
but
either way, being that intimate with someone out of spite is insane.
and when he does his big reveal, to beat him, he just stabs him and then just like walks away to get changed. When it's like, what kind of
He reveals in the next issue why he isn't killing him. But the thing that's so funny that you guys don't realize, this is the moment that I was like, we're doing this book for the show. But the thing that's so funny is this is Prometheus's first appearance in the New 52. He dies at the end of Cry for Justice, and this is his first appearance since then.
I think it's awesome.
I really hated this so much.
See,
I
I
love
didn't
it
like.
so much.
I didn't care
It's
for
so
Midnighter
dumb.
until this point. I'm like, this is as dumb as I want it to be.
Yes!
Because I
Yes!
wanted to see these two fight each other. Because I'm like, well, they can both predict everything everyone does, so who can out predict the other?
Yeah, like if you're going to do a Midnighter book, this is a perfect villain for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we get some backstory about Prometheus, and basically, this is so fucking dumb. His parents are like Bonnie
We've
and Clyde.
done 2 episodes
Yeah.
on Cry for Justice at this point. his parents were killed by cops, so he became crime Batman.
And like literally, he's like, my parents loved me. Justice killed them. I had to destroy justice at its roots. Like,
I like that he's specifically targeting justice, just like Cry for Justice. Justice!
yeah, he's like, I have to go kill justice. So he becomes, as we've said a million times, evil Batman. He's like, I'm gonna go train with the world's blah blah blah. I study languages, blah blah blah.
He has
And
the
also he
cosmic
cheats.
key.
And also he cheats. Uses computer brain. His helmet has a computer chips in it that has all data on all the best fighters, Lady Shiva, Batman, and even Midnighter.
Yeah, he's like, I actually know everyone's fighting style, so I can't be beaten. So it's like, again, this is the reason I'm like, this is so dumb. Ugh.
And he explains to him that this house, like, I was the one that downloaded the files about who you were as a kid, so this house, I made it from those memories. So all, like, these pictures on the wall are actually you.
And he also reveals that he destroyed the original, so the only record of his past is in Prometheus' head.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Midnighter can't kill him.
But okay.
So they have this big fight. It's very chaotic, including things like ripping off a doorknob off a door, saying, "Look, we broke the doorknob, but don't worry, I still know how to use a door." Throwing the doorknob behind him, opening up a dimensional door to punch him in the back of the head.
Now you're thinking with portals.
Yeah. Anyway, they are fighting for a while. Midnighter's not talking. He's not quipping that much. It's Prometheus' turn now to be the edgelord.
Yeah, because
And-
Midnighter is mostly like being like, well, I have to kill you now.
Yeah. And
Like,
he's
he-
like, yeah, you
he's-
can't kill me because you lose your origin.
Well, he says, you can't kill me. If you do, the file will be destroyed. Let me live, and I will do worse to others. If I die, you'll never find out who you are. Where are your ideals now? Betray yourself or lose yourself.
And
You're
Midnight,
the
this is a really cool scene when Midnighter says, "I know exactly who I am," and just smashes Prometheus' skull.
And, okay, I actually think that idea is really cool. And the page where he smashes his skull is so cool to me, because what he does is all those, like, camera snapshots of, like, the potential things. When he smashes his skull, they're all scenes of him and Matt together that are now cracked, like cracked screens.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically, like, breaking those memories. And the thing that really made me laugh, though, is they do show the panel that was earlier in the book that we didn't mention, where Matt is booping Midnighter on the nose.
yeah.
And knowing that that's Prometheus is so funny to me.
That's one of the things that makes it hard to believe, because the idea of like the femme fatale is like an old school, like you seduce them to get to them, but it's usually like it's you bang them and then steal something that night, or like you don't
Going for the long con?
Yeah,
Like, get married?
he's like, we're gonna be in a long-term relationship.
But a character like Prometheus, I will believe he will do that. Like, he's over the top enough that this is his fight.
Yeah, no, it totally works.
Also,
Like,
the
it's
line,
so dumb, but it works with
to
Prometheus.
Orlando's credit, the line where Midnighter tells him, I know exactly who I am, is that earlier, like, him and Matt were dining on top of this one roof, and I forget what they say, but Matt tells him, like, not to worry about, like, what he thinks he is or what he's supposed to be. Matt tells him, I know exactly who you are. Like, don't worry
That
about
is cool.
those things, because
That
I
is
know
cool.
who you are.
It's just
So it's a good, like, loop back around
it
to that.
does make a lot of the scenes like strange in retrospect, though. Like even
Yes,
the
it
scene with
does.
his dad, with Matt's fake dad, and he's like talking about his son coming out. It's like that was a
Yeah,
nice scene at the time, but he was just a homunculi covering for for Prometheus.
But the thing that I really like about this is he does say, I know exactly who I am, and Prometheus is, like, twitching on the ground, and he says, expecting a send-off, you piece of trash, and he won't even look at him. He's like, I won't even look back. You don't deserve it. And as the series continues, this actually is followed up on. Like, Midnighter was so emotionally vulnerable when he gave up Apollo that he let himself get set up for this. And, like, it's after, even though this reveal is super weird, the fallout of this is, I think, really well done, but we're not going to get to that on this episode, so sorry, guys. But listeners should keep reading it.
I also hate that Prometheus. Well, Midnighter's not looking back at him because he doesn't deserve it. Prometheus uses a cosmic key and teleports away.
Yeah,
Which again is my comic book trope of like I just hate when it's like last minute the villains move, especially with someone like Prometheus. I don't know, because you could just kill him and then have him later on explain I didn't really die because blah blah blah.
Then this story arc ends with him starting to meet another guy. Him
Well, no,
talking.
first he finds, in the house, he finds a picture of him as a kid. Midnighter
Right,
finds
yeah.
a picture of a kid Midnighter. And then he goes back, that's not a new guy, it's the guy from the very beginning, the guy he met on Grindr.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. and then he's hanging out with him. Then he's talking
Grinder's
to...
a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Then he's talking to Marina, the girl with the sounds in jail, and they make some more quips like, she's like, I'm gardening, and he's like, I never liked gardening, God garden. And then Apollo shows up, finds the picture as a gift to him.
Yeah, he
And
left
then-
the picture of him in Apollo's.
Midnighter found a picture of himself in the house, and he left a picture of himself in the house. Not Paul's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
then it ends with him being like,
I'm never done fighting, he
Yeah.
says, as he's gritting and drinking alcohol.
yep.
Oh,
That
boy.
ends it.
So, Sly, let's go. I want to save Sly for last. Phil, would you read more of this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Darryl.
No, and I want to preface that even though I thought the Prometheus reveal was really good, the fact that they did the same thing throughout all of Midnighter that they did there, where it doesn't Prometheus doesn't explain what he's trying to do, or Midnighter's not trying to explain like how they're fighting each other, like the kinetics of the battle. It's just like them fighting. It's like, oh, Midnighter won because of course he did.
Yeah.
Like at least when Prometheus was being BS.
Well, Prometheus was setting him up where, like, you have to make a choice, and Prometheus's arrogance was saying he'll never kill me.
But was that his master plan? Was to be like, I'm gonna lose, but you're gonna have to let me go?
No, that can't be. That's so fucking dumb. That
No,
can't
No,
be.
I
Like,
thought what
and-
Prometheus wanted to do was he was going to steal all the tech, then confront Midnighter, and have Midnighter let him walk away so that he could find out his origin, and then he
No,
wouldn't
you're
have
forgetting.
to deal with
He
Midnighter.
steals all the tech, gives it to people, dates Midnighter while he's fighting all these
That's true,
people.
you're right, you're right.
He dates Midnighter the whole time, and then at the end, he stabs him, lets himself lose so that he can make Prometheus or put Midnighter in an awkward situation. Like, I'm like, what is this story? Why?
Well,
would
to be fair, that is a very Prometheus move because remember he did that in Cry for Justice.
I
where
know,
he's like,
and,
Yeah,
and
underestimated
I hated
Green
it
Arrow.
then. I hated it then, and I hate it now. I hate.
But like, I like it. As stupid as it was, I like the stuff in Cry for Justice where he's like, I know specifically how to take down each of these heroes, and he uses that against them. But against Midnighter, he's just like, I'll just fight you in your house.
especially
I just
because
interpret it as he lost the fight because he wouldn't shut up. Like Midnighter keeps saying, like, you don't know when to stop talking. He just beats the shit out of him because Midnighter.
yeah, but he has Midnighters and other great fighters like downloaded into his brain, and he has a computer brain.
The canonical Prometheus is just weird because he can fight the entire Justice League and beat them while talking to them, but he can't fight one man.
Well, Cry for
and
Justice
beat
is
them
also
while talking to
bullshit,
them.
and that's not accurate to Prometheus' skill level either. So
Keep in mind that this is the new 52. Prometheus might
Oh,
have a
that's
different
true.
skill set as before. It's been
That's-
rebooted.
Yep, sorry. This is what happens when I get into canon arguments.
No, yeah,
Whatever.
it's great. It's
Anyway,
great to keep continuity, guys, but it doesn't. We can always just say, well, the continuity broke at some point, so fuck you.
I know.
What I was
No,
saying
I
is,
do
like,
think it's silly.
the-
I agree with you guys.
The Prometheus reveal is the high point for me. I think that was so funny and stupid, but I didn't like how the fight was handled, and I overall like the romantic moments between Midnighter and Matt were nice, but
They're ruined. They're ruined because it was Prometheus all along. That ruins.
that makes it awesome.
That, no, that ruins
makes it
It makes
everything.
it awesome.
no, I got a side with Sly that makes
Oh
it
my
awesome.
god! It's like. Can you imagine when we were doing some other comic like Batman and Selena Kyle's
Or like
relationship,
Swamp
but-
Thing.
Oh yeah, and it turns out the whole time Selena like Catwoman was actually the Joker. It's like
That's so funny.
no, okay, it's funny, but it's dumb.
I
In a bad way.
think if this was like a manga where they when it's like to me it feels like something like the Mahjong comic.
No, the Mahjong one never tried to get serious.
But,
I mean,
It never did. It
It
never
was
did.
serious in like its own way.
this is what I'll say about it, and this is why I like this book overall. If you gave like Darryl hates this idea, fuck you, Sly. No, you have to be serious or bad or whatever. My idea is I like ambition, and if you gave me, if you said you have to write a book about edgelords, this is how I write it. You would make the over the top, super over the top, and then you would just write good character moments in between. And so if you guys hate this, you hate my writing on edgelords.
Okay, I will say this is my favorite edgelord thing we've done.
Okay.
Yes.
Like it's better than the boys. It's better than Nemesis. It's better than Lobo, Christmas.
I forgot about
I
that.
purged that from my mind.
This is the best edgelord thing because it's
For the record, Steve Orlando is currently writing the Justice League book with Lobo on the team.
great.
I need to check that out. I'm curious.
I do agree with Phil that this is probably the most readable edgelord.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Until the Prometheus stuff, I did enjoy a lot of this. I enjoyed the folklore stuff. I enjoyed the 6 killing sound stuff. The God Garden tech was really cool. The romantic scenes were well done. But really, like, in most cases, I'm willing to overlook some things. But the Prometheus reveal, like, now it colors the rest of the book in a bad way for me, where like every nice, touching, intimate scene just became the supervillain fucking him to spite him. I can't get over that.
I do like this. It shows of what the difference between what we all expect from stories like this. I like if you're given a topic like this, go with something with good character moments in between, and just go over the top of the action scenes.
It's definitely not a book that I've read from DC before.
Yeah, but Darryl is more like, I want to be pure dumb or pure good, and Phil.
Okay, before you start making a straw man of me, there are certain
You
things
said
I
it
do
yourself,
like
you have to go one way. So don't say I'm making a straw man.
No, it depends on how you execute. Like, for instance, I really, really love Gurren Lagann, and that show goes so crazy dumb, but at the same time, it has really nice character moments, but it stays within that universe of, like, it's about, like, being dumb and doing what you love and, being passionate.
About the human spirit.
Yeah, and it
sticks with
keeps that theme throughout, whereas, like, Midnighter is, like, here's, like, him being snarky and killing people, and then there's him being, like opening himself up to other people.
Yeah,
like,
but I like
they
that
just don't
now
mesh
it shows
well
a
to me.
division between his, and you can interpret it any way you want, but for me, that's the division between his
Wait,
severe
what,
life.
I wanted to hear my straw man. What were you going to talk about me? How did I feel?
I was gonna say you're kind of in the same ballpark as me, but you just had a different break point where you're like, this got too ridiculous for me. And
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
I do think you can do it both ways. For me though, again, it was like about issue 6 where I was like, okay, I can't do this. I really.
But I think this position is just show of each of our different tastes.
Yeah.
So you experienced what Midnighter felt when he revealed himself to be Prometheus. You're like, I can't do this relationship. I gotta walk away from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta punch you through the door with the doorknob because it's funny. It's like.
God damn it, Ryan.
Especially because you're like, he won because he was talking, but Midnighter was doing shit like that during the fight. So
I think
that
this
serious?
is a great book.
Okay, whatever.
And I think the second volume's even better. And I can't wait for the third one.
Yeah, but Prometheus isn't in it though. So unless he fights Nemesis, I don't care.
That'll be a showdown.
Do you know when I was reading this, I forgot. I was like, is Nemesis just Prometheus? Like, I forgot if they were the same character or not because they are so the
They're
same.
exactly the same character.
I forgot if that was, and then I remembered they're different people.
Nemesis wears white.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, completely different character, Phil.
Okay, so Sly, would you read more of this?
I actually would.
Yes! We've done it, half and half.
Half.
So...
That means half coffee, half milk, right, Darryl?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
It's okay, I deserve it.
So, I hope you guys liked this episode. I certainly did. And you should rate and review and subscribe on iTunes. And you should also tell some friends about it. Because we had our Cry for Justice episodes. We have our Nemesis episodes. We have this one. It's like part of... And The Boys. It's this whole, like, edgelord saga that we have.
I thought that was Edgelord August.
Oh, yeah. We'll save
not
that
August yet.
You're right. Shit.
We fucked it up,
That
Ryan.
was a thing I wanted to do. But the reason why we did this now is because the next couple episodes are going to be a little different because Phil has to go do grown-up stuff far away.
Yeah. So grown-up stuff.
Yeah. So when
Very adult, if you guys are good.
Yeah. So for the next couple episodes, it might be a little bit different with some like bonus stuff, but we're not. But we'll be back eventually with Phil back. What? Probably like mid-August.
Early August. We're coming back the 8th or something.
Just in time for Edgelord August.
Yes. He'll be back just in time for Edgelord August.
We'll end of Edgelord and begin of Edgelord.
This is like a preview of Edgelord August.
Yeah. So we'll still be doing like there'll still be episodes coming out, but they won't be the regular format. And also, I started a thing that if you tweet at us or write in our Facebook group, Oops, I Talk Divisive Issues, if you give money to progressive causes or candidates and use the hashtag Comics for Causes, I'll send you free comic books. And one other, I also want to plug the Comrade Radio Network. Classics Massic is back from break. They're doing a Summer of 70s, and in their new episode, they talk a lot about comic books and politics, and then they point out that they're not us and they should go back to talk about movies. So you should check that out. The new episode was really good. And that's all I got. You guys have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, cool. So thank you so much for listening to Divisive Issues. I've been an industrial homunculi.
Wait for my car to pass, sorry.
Slice driving away.
I'm driving away.
We should just save that.
Yeah, that's it.
I've been dating Darryl in order to bring him down.
Oh, I was gonna be Prometheus. That's okay. I'll be Midnighter, and I'll open a door to your heart and then kick it in.
Stay in continuity.